my first tip would be that if you are someone that has never had any students on the platform whatsoever, you are starting from scratch, my tip would be to get someone to book you. This could be one of your friends or a family member or just anyone that you're familiar with. Now, in case you guys didn't know, on the platform, students get to pick you to be their teacher based on your profile. And when a student looks at your profile, they are most likely to look at how many classes you've taught and how the reviews have been with the students that you have taught. So students leave a review on your profile. Now, this one goes without saying. Most people do check reviews where they want to buy a product or maybe take a certain service. Most people do check reviews. So with this tip, it is to make sure that when your students look at your profile, they can see that, oh, this person is a new teacher on the platform, or they've never had students or whatever the case is, but there are students who have been happy with their service. Now, since this is a bit of cheating in a way, I would suggest that you have a proper classroom lesson with that person that's going to book you, whether it's your family member or a friend. Have a proper lesson with them and then ask them to write down everything in the review, everything that they found to be positive about your classroom. It could be how clearly you explain things, whatever it is. Get them to write a review, and I think that's just going to build a bit more credibility with your students to say, oh, this person actually has had students and the students actually had a good time with them. They think that this person is a good teacher. My second tip would be that when you're still starting out as well, that you set your availability open for 24 hours for at least 3 days. Now, this makes sure that even if maybe the student who wants to book you isn't in the same time zone as you, that they can book you, even if it's at an odd hour of the day or night, maybe it's at 3 a.m. or 2 a.m. It makes sure that you attract those students as well, that they get a chance to feel what kind of teacher you are, and they then decide if maybe they would like to compromise. Maybe you guys maybe do your lessons at 11 p.m. in South African time, or maybe at an earlier time in their country, whatever the case is. I promise you guys will come to an agreement if you do this, if the student liked you, by the way. And just a bit of a backstory, this is something that I did when I first started out as well. I was available for 24 hours for exactly 3 days. And interesting fact, the student that I've had on iTalki that has booked me the most lessons was a student that I got at 2 a.m. and they were from North America. We had such a good class that we both agreed on a time that was best suitable for me and a time that was suitable for my student as well, and we lived happily ever after. So yeah, do that, and it could increase your chances of getting students like that, because you never know, you could kick it off with one student where you guys really get along, they like your teaching style, you like having them in your class, and yeah, I feel like that's a really good thing to do if you are still starting out. My third tip would be to lower your prices. Now, I know nobody wants to hear this one, because who wants to lower their prices? But a bit of a backstory before I tell you why you should lower your prices. So guys, if you did not know, in December I decided to take a break from teaching and I did not have a single class. Now, I thought that when I come back to teaching again in January, I'll be back to teaching my usual students and just things will go back to normal. To my surprise, I did not have a single student when I went back on iTalki after I had messaged my students telling them that I had been back to work. None of them came back. So I literally had to apply these tips that I'm telling you guys in the video, and I feel that lowering my prices is the one that worked the most. Now, I was charging 120 Rand an hour when I had left iTalki, and I had to go to a whopping 66 Rand an hour after iTalki had taken their commission. So now I was getting paid almost half, actually, yeah, almost half of what I was charging before I had left. It was something that I really needed to do because I actually do need the money this year more than I did last year. So I was like to hell with it. I'll just have a strategy where I lower my prices and then I'll work my way up again, like how I did last year. Because when I started on iTalki, I was charging 80 Rand an hour when I had first started out. So I saw it this way as well, like, okay, I'll apply the same strategy I did last year and just work my way up. And guys, it literally did work. I got students like it was just, it went back to being the normal iTalki that I know, because I was not getting students. I think for like a whole week I wasn't getting students, and I was like, you know what, Mickey, swallow your pride and just do this, because you actually are in need, like you're in a desperate position. So I did that, and yes, things did work out. My fourth tip would be to be a community tutor. A community tutor is someone who does not have any form of qualification. They don't have a degree or a TEFL certificate. They just go on the platform to teach the language as a native speaker of that language or as someone who speaks that language. So I think being a community tutor has a lot of advantages, but for someone who is qualified, maybe if you have degrees or whatever the case is, it can be a bit humbling, because you're not really going to get paid for what you're worth. Now, the nice thing about this is that even if you do have qualifications, you can later on switch to being a professional teacher if you feel like that is what you deserve. But I feel like being a community tutor is a safe option, because when you're a community tutor, you do get the option to lower your prices a bit more than what a professional teacher is allowed to. I think a professional teacher is allowed to charge at minimum $10 an hour. But as a community tutor, if again you wanted to charge 70 Rand an hour, whatever the number is, then you can do that. You have that flexibility. So I would say be a community tutor until you build your confidence, until you have students, and maybe work your way up and become a professional teacher when you do feel confident. My fifth tip would be to make an introduction video that speaks to you. So we're all different as people, right? So how I approached this was that if I were a student on iTalki looking for a teacher, what would I want to hear from them? And then I made an introduction video based on that. I looked at some other videos online as well of teachers and what they said in their introduction videos, and I incorporated that into my video. So my video says everything that I would have liked to hear a teacher say to me if I wanted to book a class with them. Now that is going to look different to you. If you're someone that wants to mention your hobbies, because maybe you would book a teacher who mentioned that, maybe you want to know if you guys have anything in common, then mention that. If you want to mention how many degrees you have, your qualifications, then mention that. Because I feel like if you make a video that maybe speaks to you, then probably your students will like you because of what you said in that video. I don't think there's a one size fits all on what your video should be or what you should say and what you should not say in your video. So that's what I would say. Say something that speaks to you in your video. What would you like to hear a teacher say? And then just put that in your video. And another tip would be to make sure that your introduction video is a bit interesting in a way. Maybe to add some background music, maybe add some pictures, maybe add pictures, yes, on the wall, and pictures in terms of like edits and all of that into your videos. And in terms of the pictures and maybe putting a background, putting background pictures on your wall and all of that, that's also going to depend on your audience. If your target audience is children, then it makes sense that you put maybe some stickers on your wall or on your background, some posters, whatever the case is. But if your target audience are adults, I don't think that's necessary. An adult just wants to hear what you have to offer them and hear a bit about yourself and whatever else you think is good enough to incorporate in your video. My last tip would be that if you're still not getting students on the platform, then maybe you should consider applying on other platforms as well, other sites where you can teach English online. There are plenty of them, and as a matter of fact, I have linked a PDF down in the description box with schools that you can apply to. It tells you how much they pay, the amount of work, the amount of hours that you would be expected to work. It tells you what you would need to qualify to teach on that platform. It also tells you Okay, yeah, there's a lot of things that's on that PDF, so you can go on there and download that free PDF and you can apply at those schools. Now, I made this my last tip because before I started teaching on iTalki, I had been rejected at 3 other schools that I wanted to teach at, and to be honest, it was so discouraging because I really needed to do this and like no one was accepting me. iTalki was the first platform to give me a chance, and I'm very, very thankful for that. But I'm just thinking that if you put all your eggs in one basket and you only say, oh, I'm only going to teach on iTalki, but actually maybe you do need the income, or maybe you are someone who actually wants to teach people English and you're passionate about it, then don't only look at one thing, maybe diversify as well. And yeah, I hope that PDF does help you guys. And ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of our video. Thank you so much for watching. For those of you who don't know, my name is Mickey and I teach English online. Thank you guys so much for subscribing to my channel, for watching this video, for watching my previous video. It means a lot to me. If you guys have made it this far, you guys can also tell me what you'd like me to touch on in my next video because I'm always willing to help. And for those of you who don't have a TEFL certificate, there's a TEFL certificate that I've linked down in the description box. It is 320 Rand or $20, and you can do that. You can get that using my link down in the description box to get a discount. Thank you so much again, and see you in my next video when you tell me what you want me to talk about. Bye.